if we Bitcoiners are right, and I think we are, right? But like, if this is going to become the future world money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then if you don't get involved at year 15 of the future of world money, you kind of miss pretty much the biggest thing that's going to change the world economy, going forward. I don't see anything that's going to be bigger than that. The difference between you not getting involved now and getting involved 20 years from now is, it's going to be completely night or day.
Most people will cash out way too soon, but those who hold onto their Bitcoin through the next wave of institutional adoption could end up insanely wealthy. That's the latest warning and opportunity from MicroStrategy's executive chairman, Michael Saylor. Right now, less than 0.1% of companies have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. We are still extremely early. Saylor calls this a once-in-a-generation moment where individuals actually have the advantage over corporations, but that window is closing fast. As deep-pocketed institutions pour in, the market will shift rapidly. Bitcoin will no longer be a retail investor's play. It will become the financial
I think there's a couple things that Bitcoin does much better than regular money, right? And the first thing I think it does is it allows your money to be held in custody by yourself and moved wherever you want, right? And, if you have euros and you move to America, your euros are basically useless. We do not accept the euro over here, right?
Yeah.
The dollar, my dollars in Netherlands are pretty useless, But Bitcoin is this unit where I can hold my Bitcoin in a wallet, and I can take that wallet anywhere I want in the world, right? And that's a fundamentally new thing, and I think that's actually the killer app of Bitcoin, right?
Cyber criminals are getting smarter, and everyday investors are the new target. You worked hard for your crypto. Don't lose it to a scam. Recently, attackers bribed offshore agents at major crypto platforms, stealing names, birth dates, even social security numbers. They drained real accounts in seconds. No blockchain hack, just human error. Once it's gone in crypto, it's gone. That's why ITrust Capital created the Premium Custody Account, the most secure way to protect your asset. It's a closed-loop system, meaning funds can only move between you and your account. Even if someone gained access, they can't steal your crypto. Backed by institutional-grade custody at no extra cost. Sleep easy knowing your investments are locked down. Click the link, use code DOSE7, and get a $100 funding bonus. Start protecting your future with ITrust Capital.
Is that it's sort of it's money that you can hold, and you can move around the world, right? That's the first thing. I think it's just, and nothing has this, because fiat really has to be stored in a bank account, right?
Yeah.
And then there's some third party that's kind of gating it. Bitcoin can be stored, just in a wallet, right? And so that's the first thing. The second thing is, I can send Bitcoin anywhere to anybody, anywhere in the world, without an intermediary either, right? So I don't need a checkbook to send it. I don't need a wire to send it. I can send it to anybody in the world. And again, that's a really new thing, right? Now, other cryptocurrencies have that capability, as they have the capability of the wallet, right? But I would think those two things are the things that are the biggest capabilities of crypto in general, right? And then the third thing is, this sort of finite supply, right? So, it cannot be debased. And I think between those things, I think you have something that is extremely powerful. And it's extremely powerful for people to keep their money out of the reach of the government.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the biggest, that's the core driver of Bitcoin's growth. Number one driver is, I want to take my money and I want to move it outside of the banking system. I want to move it outside of the government system. If we're right, if we Bitcoiners are right, and I think we are, right? But if this is going to become the future world money, right?
Mm.
Then if you don't get involved at year 15 of the future of world money, you kind of miss pretty much the biggest thing that's going to change the world economy, going forward. I don't see anything that's going to be bigger than that, right? Because if the entire money supply changes to a world where we're running Bitcoin, and if that happens within the next, say, 20 years, well, the difference between you not getting involved now and getting involved 20 years from now is, it's going to be completely night or day. A lot of people in Europe sort of believe that the government's going to take care of them, right? Like, the government's going to provide my pension. The government's going to do this. Government's going to take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that's probably an incorrect assumption. We're seeing that in the same thing in the U.S. Government's going to pay for my Social Security. No, the government's not going to. There will not be any Social Security. That's just a lie. And those Medicare benefits and the Social Security benefits are not. They do not have money for that.
Mm.
And so the system is kind of bankrupt, but we're all pretending that it's not.
Yeah.
And so there's got to be a fundamental change to the system, and that change is coming, and Bitcoin's going to be part of that change.
Michael Saylor envisions a future where Bitcoin's base layer is dominated by the world's largest players, governments, mega banks, and tech giants like Apple, Google, and Microsoft, settling transactions worth hundreds of millions or even billions. He believes we could see 10,000 to 100,000 major financial institutions, from Citi and Bank of America to Deutsche Bank and the Bank of Japan, moving Bitcoin peer-to-peer directly on-chain. At the same time, Layer 2 protocols will power fast, low-cost transactions for millions of mobile apps.
The thing is, look, it's hard without looking at sort of quantitative numbers of how much this is catching on, and that's one of the things I've been kind of doing on Twitter recently. Is I've really been focusing on kind of trying to explain to people about these power laws, and not just about power laws of price, but like power laws of adoption, right? So, Bitcoin at the end of the day, it is growing almost exponentially. It's growing like a weed, okay?
Yeah.
And basically, 25% a year, there's more Bitcoin users every year. And it doesn't matter whether price is going up or down, the usage is increasing, right? And there's all these ways of measuring that. You can measure people who have 1 Bitcoin, or people who have 1/10 of a Bitcoin, or addresses that have 100th of a Bitcoin, or even addresses that have 10 Bitcoin. And you see these things are growing at sort of a geometric rate. This is also growing in terms of price. It's also growing in a very consistent way, but it's a little harder to really appreciate and understand that, because it's happening in this logarithmic kind of way. And we have very bad intuition for logarithmic growth.
Can you explain a bit on that? Like what is the main thing to understand?
Let's just say, if you ask most people who are not in Bitcoin, or even people who are in Bitcoin, you say, explain the price of Bitcoin. They'd be like, well, there was, back in the day, a long, long time ago, Bitcoin was really cheap, right? Like you were saying, right? 2013, it was like a couple $100, right? You could buy Bitcoin for $200, right? And then, so there was this prehistory where it was very cheap. And then in 2017, it kind of went from $1,000 to $20,000, right? Almost 20,000. Then it crashed. And then it was like dead. And then it went in late 2020, it rose again from the dead, and it went to $60,000. And then it stayed there for about a year. It went down and went back up. It hit 60,000, 69,000 in the second peak. Then it crashed. And then it did nothing for 3 years. It died. And then last year it went back up. Well, that doesn't sound like a like a straight line at all. But if you look at it on logarithmic space and you say, great, let's look at the logarithm of Bitcoin price, right? Which the logarithm is a good way that you can put a graph of Bitcoin price over a very wide time scale, right? So from when Bitcoin was at 10 cents, right? So the logarithm is -1 at 10 cents, right? To right now where Bitcoin, let's say it's roughly $100,000, not quite 100,000 yet, but 100,000 would be 10 to the power 6. So the logarithm of it in base 10 is 6. So you went from -1 to +6, right?
Yeah.
So you look at that, and now the trick is look at time also on a logarithmic basis. So look at time starting at the Genesis block and 15 years from there. So 10 years, that's 1, right? Because 10 to the power 1, 10 to the power 1 is 10, right? And so, you start at 0, you go to a little bit beyond 1. Now you're at, 1.4, right? Or 1.3, And so if you look at time that way and logarithm price, now you see, whoa, it's a complete straight line.
Yeah.
It's very clear. Once you see it, you're like, I can't unsee that. It's completely a straight line. And now it wobbles around the straight line, but it's very clear that it's growing linearly. Not possible that it's random, right?
Michael Saylor calls Bitcoin hope, the foundation for a complete redesign of modern finance. Once you understand the underlying causes of market failure and political dysfunction, he says Bitcoin becomes the tool to engineer stronger credit, fairer equity, and healthier capital markets. Most people don't even realize the system is broken because they've never seen a perfect one, but Bitcoin, according to Saylor, brings that clarity. For individual investors, his advice is clear. Master digital intelligence and secure your digital capital. Use AI to amplify your productivity, whether you're an analyst, creator, or entrepreneur. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.